All right, Future Proof 23. Awesome. Thank you all for being here. I was, as many of you probably, I attended last year's session, and I just can't congratulate the Future Proof team enough. It's bigger, better. You guys are continuing to innovate, so congratulations. Very, very proud to be here and appreciative of the invite. Just by way of quick background, my name is Shirl Penney. I'm founder and CEO of Dynasty Financial Partners. We're the largest integrated platform for RIAs in the industry. We provide technology, TAMP investment services, capital, as well as investment banking, and leads of end clients as well as advisor leads. A couple great case studies actually for Dynasty up on the panel here with me. I'm pleased to be joined by a couple of our clients, and we'll maybe get into that here in a moment. But we only have 30 minutes, so I want to jump into the introductions from our esteemed panelists, all of whom represent RIA firms that have north of $1 billion. And we're going to talk about growth, how they got there, and where they're going, how they're going to continue to grow. We're going to talk about talent. We're going to talk about brand development, brand building, organic growth, inorganic growth, and some lessons learned on leadership as they built their firms. So with that, let's get into the introductions. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, your firm, and just to loosen it up a little bit this afternoon, give us one silly fun fact about yourself. And in no particular order, let me start in the middle with Blair.
Thank you, Shirl. I'm Blair DuQuesnay. I'm an advisor at Ritholtz Wealth Management. You probably know of us. I've been there for 5 years, was lucky enough to connect with Josh and Barry throughout earlier parts of my career, and I'm happy to be there. And I serve on the investment committee in addition to advising clients and writing my blog, The Bell Curve. And we were asked last night to think of a fun fact, and I think we're going to be a little competitive here, so I don't know how this is going to go. Fun fact about me is that both of my children were born at home.
Strong.
All right, that's going to be tough to compete with, but give it a shot, Phil.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know what to do with that one, Blair, so I'm going to kick that. So Phil Fiore, CEO and founder of one of the founders of Procyon, launched 6 years ago this past June, so it's been a minute. Having spent 2 decades at the wires, we saw the light and we followed it. So thanks to our friends at Dynasty. So it's been pretty incredible. We launched. There was 5 partners that founded the firm. We had 3 support staff, 1 office in Connecticut, and about $2.3 billion is what we launched with. As we sit here today, we have 48 people, 10 partners, 7 offices, and approaching $7 billion. So it's been just an incredible 6 years for us. And in addition to the RIA, I think what we did early on, like almost 24 months into this, is that we started to build what we call verticals that are adjacent companies that support our RIA, so we can fully serve our clients. Like, for instance, we built Procyon Tax as a way to bring tax planning and tax accounting services to our clients. We built Procyon Risk as a way to bring property and casualty insurance to our clients. We built Procyon Benefits, which brings healthcare and group insurance products to our corporate clients. And finally, we built Procyon Trust as a way to bring trust services to our clients. So what I tell my gang all the time is that it's very simple. If we're at the kitchen table or the corporate boardroom table, we want to serve our clients the way that they want to be served with a trusted partner. So that's what we're trying to build at Procyon. As for a fun fact, I thought I had a really cool one, but it's not that cool. I'm a first-generation Italian, so my parents are literally off the boats, and they've been together forever. And we come from Calabria, and my parents were on the last voyage on the Anchidoria here to settle in the United States before it sank. So I thought that was I'm not sure it was a fun fact, it was a cool fact. So thanks, Shirl.
Awesome, thanks, Phil. Matt?
Well, you both set the bar pretty high on the fun fact, but I'll save mine for the end. Matt Lieberman, Amplius Wealth Advisors, also proud to be part of the Dynasty Financial Partners Network. First things first, we launched 2.5 years ago out of the Wirehouse world. So this conference is amazing. Anybody that remembers Wirehouse conferences, it wasn't like this. So very happy to be here. When we launched, we had 7 people. We started with 8, but 1 we knew was about to retire. And we advised our last year at the Wirehouse world about $700 million in fee-based assets. 2.5 years later, we have 12 people. We have about $1.25 billion in assets. And our whole philosophy is centered around the idea, and the whole reason we went independent with Dynasty is who's the boss? We just want to work for our clients. We don't want to have a million layers of management and other agendas and so on, and that's sort of the philosophy we follow. In terms of fun fact, I am the first cousin 3 generations removed of Moe and Curly of the Three Stooges.
Well, that's a good one, Matt. That's a good one.
Drop the mic? Or
Drop the mic. That's a good one.
All right. I told them I have a little a gift for whoever had the best fun fact, which is going to be a gift certificate here at the hotel. Just by a round of applause, who thinks it's Matt?
Seriously?
Blair? Or Phil?
Wow.
All right. We got to move on. I'm going to go with Blair. All right.
Well, I knew that was coming.
All right. We talked a little bit last night, and I think everyone agreed when we were talking about what's the foundation of growth for each of your respective firms. You all said the same thing, which is starts with talent, right? It starts with your people. Maybe talk a little bit about your talent strategy, how you've attracted talent thus far, and how is that going to remain the same or change on a go-forward basis?
Let me go? Sure. Yeah, so, talent's everything. It's the game. And we've been amazingly fortunate to have incredible, exceptional people join our firm since its inception. But we think about it a little differently in that when we look to do a tuck-in or we look to bring someone in the firm, we are looking at them across the boardroom table, assuming that they're going to be a partner of ours at some point. We like to date, before we do that, but the objective is to ultimately call each other partners, and that's a big deal for us because I truly believe that in order to have the right talent long-term, people that are loyal to you and your firm and your brand, they have to be a part of that. They have to be a part of the piece that makes it all work, which is the equity. And so, Shirl, from a talent perspective, you got to get the highest. You got to set the bar the highest level possible, and therefore get the best talent possible. The only way to do that is to enrich them in the growth of the firm, and that's what we've done at Procyon.
So it sounds like you have other equity partners within the firm.
We do. We went from 5 founding partners, and today we have 10 partners total.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, you said it. Talent is everything in wealth management. I mean, this is your most valuable resource as a firm, are the people. We're incredibly lucky. All of our clients and our employees are fans of the firm first. I was a fan. I was a fangirl. And I reached out and said, hey, maybe they'll want to hook up with me. And that's the same for pretty much every employee at the firm. And so that's an amazing position to be in. We're super lucky. We never take it for granted. And we have a saying that if it's not an obvious yes, it's a no in hiring. So it's a pretty... it's worked. So let's just say that, and it's it's been a great journey.
Fans first, and if it's not an obvious yes, it's a no. Those are a couple great sound bites. Thank you, Matt. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, so when we left our previous firm, we had 12 people, and we left several behind that we didn't think would be the right fit, and we wanted to rehire and regrow our team. And what we've really done is take the philosophy of every person we bring onto the team should make everybody else better. We want to hire someone that our 12th hire should be better than the first 11, and so on and so forth. So we've been fairly deliberate and consistent about bringing younger talent onto the firm. When I started in wealth management 15 years ago, I was the young guy on our team, and now I am certainly not, and that's intentional.
Yeah, Phil mentioned equity. Either of you want to add in terms of, one of the things we're asked a lot by advisors is how do you bring other team members into the cap stack and get them to be equity partners in the firm? Have either of your firms, I know the answers to these questions, but I'm going to ask them for the benefit of everyone else. We helped design your operating document, yes, so I could answer for you. But how have you guys thought about putting other team members into the cap stack?
So like Phil, we want to be adding people to our firm and frankly not losing people because we want to make the right decision on the way in. So as you're correct, you know our operating documents quite well. We started with 3 partners. We are in the process of adding our 4th right now, who's in the crowd somewhere out here. And our plan is people that we want to be part of Amplius for the long term. We want to make partners eventually. And it's more, like Phil said, dating before marriage, but that is the plan.
I'm lucky enough to be an equity partner for Ritholtz Wealth, and we have several others, and I think it's just a wonderful thing to introduce ownership amongst, especially in a professional services firm. That's what all young, talented advisors want, is equity, and I think that it's a wonderful thing. It's something we don't see as often in the traditional, original first-gen business builders here, so it's refreshing to see that that's now more than normal.
No, Shirl, just one more antidote about, you mentioned the word gen, which I think is an important one to think about. But as I think about our firm, it's really fun for me to see the next generation of leaders sitting at our firm right now. And it's really cool because as I think about, the next 10 or 15 years for the firm, I can see the management and the whole thing shifting to the generation that's already there. And I think that's powerful. It's powerful from a valuation standpoint, and it's powerful for the clients and the continuation of the service model that we built this thing on. So, I love it, and I think the generational thing is very, very important, and equity has to be a piece of that puzzle.
Let me ask you guys about any talent gaps that you might have in the business. At least from my perspective, I think one of the hardest things to do as you grow your business is dealing with change. And as leaders, we all of us as leaders have elements of nepotism in our business, whether it's friends or resource partners, people that we want to hold on to maybe a little longer than we should, because some of us are loyal to a fault, right? They helped us get to where we are, but sometimes the people who help you get here aren't going to be the ones that are going to get you there. And you guys have had tremendous success: $4 billion, $7 billion, $1.25 billion, just getting started. I know you're all focused on growth. Are there talent gaps that need to be addressed to get you to that next level?
I wouldn't call it talent gaps. I would call it as you start to grow more rapidly, and instead of being a small business where you wait for the need before you make the hire, we've had to be proactive about hiring in advance of the growth, knowing that it's coming, because you can get caught without people to do the work. I still have a little PTSD from 2021. We opened so many accounts, we had not enough people to do the work. And so, you have to get ahead of that if you're growing rapidly.
Fully agree. Our general philosophy is that complacency is the enemy. So whatever we were last quarter, we want to be better next quarter. And so we just have to keep adding.
Yeah, Shirl, as we think about the sales funnel, I think about the FAs and the people that are out there doing business development as the filling the top of the funnel, right? I think operationally we're pretty stacked pretty nicely. I call our engine the Rolls Royce because, quite frankly, it's incredible. But I think what we're missing at Procyon is an outright sales functionality, right? So non-FA related, but someone out there pounding the table relative to the top of the funnel, bringing those leads into our FAs, letting them do the work that they want to do. The firm's getting larger and larger. The numbers are getting much more larger in order to get to the numbers we want to get to, and we need some other mechanism to make that happen. So that's the thing of void in our firm today. We'll fill it.
All right, so let's shift to the next topic, which is brands. Talk a little bit about your brand strategy to the extent it's evolved over time and where you see it going.
It's our people, right? So, the logo for Ritholtz Wealth is almost irrelevant because it's all about the individual content creators at our firm, and our fans follow people first, and it's the same with social media. People follow people on social media and engage with other people. And if there's anybody who encounters us as a potential client who isn't necessarily a fan and they ask what differentiates you, I always go back to it's the people, it's the individuals. And so it's that authenticity of our people as well. That's our brand.
So we take brand pretty seriously. As a matter of fact, if you go into our offices, we don't have artwork, traditional bulls and bears artwork across our walls. We have our brand, we have our values, our personalities, our mission statements all across our offices, because that's what I want the firm to breathe, and that's what I want clients to see when they walk in, as opposed to a picture of Wall Street. But we made a very, very, very important decision, and if I'm being honest, it probably cost me $10 to $20 billion of AUM, but we made that decision in our second year of launching the firm. And that was, after a couple of tuck-ins that I did early, there was a crossroads where we had to decide whether or not we're going to stick to a one team, one dream, one brand methodology, or are we going to have another model, an affiliate model, where ABC Wealth Management, powered by Procyon type of thing. And we made the very, very difficult decision to stick to one brand. One team, one dream, that's our model. And that's why we're not going to do a deal a month. We might do 2 to 3 deals a year. but those deals are immensely important, and the right people, and they're on our island together with us. And so we don't think of ourselves as independent little teams. We're a 50-person team that's taken over the East Coast. And so that's what's kind of cool. Again, a massive decision that we made, and it cost us some dollars, and there's no doubt, but I think ultimately from a branding perspective, probably the right decision for us.
With the name Amplius, our idea was to amplify the focus on our clients. And so our entire brand, everything we do, is about, are you helping the clients? And that's from the top of the firm, all 12 employees, everything you do all day, it's about them, not us. And we just keep our laser focused on that.
I know there's a number of people in the audience, as well as a number of you here on the panel, that when you think about brand, you're talking to your end client, to the end consumer, but in part you're talking to potential future advisor partners looking to join. Do you guys think about that strategically to differentiate on what you're doing between B2C and B2B, or you kind of try to aim it right down the middle and catch both?
Well, no, please, Matt, do it.
I'm just going to say, we have not had any inorganic growth yet. That we're still looking at that, and actually we're looking to Phil as a model for how we might be able to do that, because I do like the one team, one dream idea. So for us, it's really just laser focus on the end consumer, figuring that the type of people we'd want to add share that philosophy.
Yeah, I think it's the same, Shirl. I mean, marketing to the end consumer is a little different in its nuance than it is in marketing to RIAs. I tend to spend a lot of my time focusing on the M&A side of the business, and so I meet with a lot of teams, a lot of FAs, and it's awesome. Everyone talks about culture, but I will tell you the economic part of it is really easy. The cultural part of it for us is really, really important. And when we sit down pre-deal, we're sitting across from the table thinking that we're going to be partners making big decisions for the firm. And how's that interaction going? And then watching people through transition, you learn a lot. And that's why we kind of like to date before we equitize, because you can see people in their true form when they're going through something crappy like a transition. We try to make it as great as possible, but the reality is it's still somewhat stressful. So I think it's a different marketing aspect, Shirl, but at the end of the day, even our clients, we kind of have a no asshole rule, right? As it relates to clients, as it relates to FAs. And so, I think that's a universal truth in our block of business.
I think we've always been speaking to advisors and clients in everything that we do, and we're very aware of that. And I know that a lot of the people who subscribe to my blog are financial advisors, so we're aware of it. But there's no conscious decision to say anything different. We are who we are.
So as we pivot to organic growth, by the way, if you have questions, submit them via the app. We'll make sure we try to get them asked up here as well. On the organic growth side, maybe to sum up in the interest of time, a number of questions that we had talked about discussing. Just high level, what's working? Maybe you can give one example, kind of a practical takeaway piece of advice on what you see working at your firm around driving growth organically.
So yeah, I'll take that one, Shirl. So our growth targets are pretty substantial relative to new assets coming into the firm. And what we're driving our firm to think about is making sure that we're taking opportunities on more as a team versus solo, just by yourself, kind of trying to land a family or otherwise. And it's interesting because FAs by default kind of want to do it on their own type of thing, right? And this whole one dream, one team philosophy at Procyon, we're trying to live it by virtue of when we meet with a family or meet with an organization. Let's do this as a team. Let's do it together. And I think that's proven to be very, very successful for us. So we're taking our close time, from lead to close, we're cutting that almost in half just by virtue of bringing the team to the table. And I think clients at the end of the day want to see some support, behind you. You can talk about it all you want on your website or otherwise, but when they see and talk to people, it brings a different detail to it that I think is important.
We're having our 10-year anniversary, I think it's today. And in the beginning, it was, we had big audiences. People read Josh's blog, people read Barry's blog, people saw Josh on television, and they were all reaching out. And it's a digital marketing approach, right? And I think it was Michael Kitces who once broke down the numbers. If less than 1% of the people who visit the site become clients, that's enough to be profitable. So we're just trying to give away as much amazing free content as possible, and it doesn't matter if less than 1% of people actually become clients. But now that we have matured in the sense that we've been working with the same families for so many years. A lot of, in my personal practice, the organic growth has been coming from clients referring family members and friends. And that's happening across the firm as we continue to grow. So while we're still receiving the inbound inquiries from our content, we're now seeing organic growth through referrals as well.
I think most of this business is about making connections with clients. And one of the best things recently, what's led to a lot of organic growth, is that by being a business owner, it's really easy to connect with other business owner clients. You know what they're going through. And that's a different message than when you're just an advisor. And that has helped drive a lot of growth recently.
All right, let's shift to inorganic growth. I know a lot of us are trying to add advisors. Some more mature, larger firms are focusing on M&A. Valuations, continue to be frothy within the space. Again, just summing up some questions here on the inorganic or M&A front. How are you guys approaching attracting and onboarding new advisors? How are you approaching M&A? To the extent you can share any lessons learned, maybe some things that have gone well, not gone as well. I'm sure the audience would love to hear about it.
Yeah, sure. I'll kick that one off. So I think for us, our biggest successes have happened when we stayed very true to our process. I had to unwind
It's easy to fall in love with a transaction.
Yeah, it can be, right? Or the idea of what you think it looks like later on, right? And I had to unwind 2 transactions that we did. And quite frankly, as I reflected on it, I broke down the own process that I built, right? Because I thought I knew better. One guy happened to be someone we dealt with at the wirehouses, so I kind of leaned on that experience. But the reality was it was different here in the independent space, and so that was one. Another one, I just, I don't know. I got let my heart get in the way of my brain a little bit, and not that that's a bad thing, but I violated my own process to make that happen. But our best transactions, our most successful FAs, and people that join our firm are very immensely successful post-transaction. That happens because the process is so detailed. We don't rush it. We don't overpay. We just do what we think is equitable to everybody, including the firm. And the reality is, what I like to tell our FAs that join us is that you're going to be sitting here one day. So you don't want me overpaying for you, because you're going to be sitting on the other side of the table one day saying, why are we overpaying for this cat? Right? And so, but if we stay true to the process, I suspect that we'll do much better transactions going forward for sure.
So we don't purchase practices. Every senior advisor that's come to our firm, including myself, came because they wanted to join the firm. There was no purchase either through cash or equity. Nobody becomes an equity partner until they've been with us, or shareholder until they've been with us for several years. So we're just really lucky in that really talented advisors want to join us, and we'll never take that for granted.
Our M&A process will be the same as everything else, Shirl. We're going to lean on Dynasty Financial Partners in its entirety.
All right. So one of the things that strikes me as I'm sitting up here and having this conversation is you have 3 very large successful firms that are majority owned by the advisors, right? There's, at least I don't believe, there's no private equity investor in any of the firms. I'm sure many are calling you guys routinely to invest in the company. Can you talk a little bit about why you've made the decision to not take on significant outside investment, and to the extent that you would on a go-forward basis, what are you looking for in a partner?
Want me to take that? Yeah. We have not taken on any money thus far, although, like you said, Shirl, we get called quite often. And 2 reasons, I think. Number one is we wanted to maintain control of the firm, and we have to, at least in our mind, we think we had to be big enough in order to justify the control, right? So we're waiting a little bit longer, I think, before that happens. And secondarily, we want, if we're going to take on institutional money, we want to be a strategic partner. Like, forget about the money for a second. That's great, but how does that partnership help us? How are you going to help us grow our brand? How are you going to help us grow our retirement business? How are you going to help us grow our private wealth family office business, right? If we could put those 2 things together, I think we got something there to talk about. But if it's just about the money, I don't know. I just don't think that we're going to take that trade, at least at the Procyon level.
I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I'm pretty sure that Josh and Barry are not looking to answer to anybody on anything. But never say never. No outside money.
And I'd say control and optimism. We want control of the firm, and we have optimism that we're going to keep growing, so why give up equity now?
All right, we have questions that are starting to come in. So just high level, we'll start with the one there on the bottom. What are some of the biggest pain points for your growth over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so I'll take this one again. It's making sure that our FAs are spending the time on the most highly valued actions that they should be spending their time on. It's very, very easy to just do stuff. Like, we built a Rolls Royce for our FAs to tap into. Tap into it, right? I know you're all CFAs and CFPs and all the great stuff, especially at our firm, but you guys and gals at our firm have the job of filling the top of the funnel. Focus on that, right? And secondarily, if you're going to focus on that, let's draw the line in the sand as to the level by which you should be hired, right? It's too easy to say yes sometimes. And then my FAs will say, I just don't have the time, so I got all this stuff going on. And I'm like, well, some of the stuff you shouldn't be working on. We should be giving that to our RMs, not you. And so, keep on getting our FAs to be thinking about the highest value targets and actions is the things they should be focused on 8% of their day.
I wouldn't say a pain point, but I think an interesting part that's going on right now is that we are starting to build teams of advisors, and that's new for us. And it's really interesting to think about how we're going to bring along the other advisors who join on a senior advisors team and what that's going to look like and the structure and how we make sure everybody is happy and how we avoid doing the same thing that the older generation did to us, which is just have us work for them and never actually participate in the growth. So that'll be fun to work on.
I think just avoiding distractions. There's so many different directions that we can all take our firms and just staying focused.
So you can just keep going down the list here. You guys can see it as well as I can, but I'll read it for the audience. Question about how you're thinking about succession planning and how is it built into your organizational documents, if at all?
Yeah, Shirl, it is for us. It's built in our operating document right from the get-go. And the way that we're thinking about it is we're building the next generation of leaders at the firm, literally as we speak. And that's exciting, right? And I don't want to get to a place where, I'm 56. I don't want to get to a place where I'm 66 or 70 years old and I got to look around for the next leaders, right? They're at the firm right now. Right, and so all we got to do is incubate them into the way that Procyon has built what they built, and let them take it from there. And so I'm excited about the future of Procyon, and I think our next gen is ready for the challenge.
If you build a business that grows to 60 employees, you have to assume that there's going to have to be a next generation, and so I think it has to just always be in the back of your mind what's going to happen when I retire. This is the best job on earth, but I do want to take my own advice that I give to clients and retire one day, right? So that's the point of bringing on the younger people and getting them up to speed to be there when the time comes.
I'll be quick because I know we're running up against it, but our succession plan is to hire well and keep hiring well.
One of the things we talked about last night, so this will be our wrap-up question, so you can take an extra 30 seconds in answering this one. We talked a lot about the difference between being an advisor and being a CEO or being a leader within the business. And sometimes it takes a different skill set from being an advisor to running a department within the firm, certainly like you do, Blair, or being CEO of your respective firms for Phil and Matt. Can you talk a little bit about what that evolution has been like for you, for all of you? And any advice that you would give anyone in the audience that's looking to evolve more towards that CEO role to help free up some time to work on the business versus in the business and really drive growth for their respective practice?
I'll start on that one. I think my advice would be when you're transitioning from advisor to CEO is don't overrate yourself. We have this idea as advisors that the clients will only survive if they hear from us because we are that wonderful and magical. But if you hire well and you have a consistent philosophy, the client can hear from other people at your firm and you don't have to be the one calling them all the time, so you can really, drive the ship.
So it's interesting. I ran a very, very large team at the last wire I was at, so it was really all about us. You know what I mean? And certainly all about me as I ran that team, for sure. being the CEO of Procyon, it's 100% the opposite. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve willingly and humbly to the great people that are part of our brand and part of our firm. And I don't need to tell the FAs and the unbelievably talented people at my firm what to do. They're amazingly bright and exceptional people as to how to execute. My job is to clear the path. My job is to make sure they have the resources adjacent to the firm to help them land larger business opportunities, to help them resource their clients the way they want to be resourced, and to be the best firm possible for them. That's our job. And quite frankly, I say that humbly, but there's no better job for me in the world, and I love it.
I would say you have to make the decision, are you trying to build a practice or a business? And those are two very different things. I personally enjoy remaining an advisor, a client-facing advisor, and so I left a prior firm where I was making management decisions because I wanted to be freed up to do that. So figure out first if that's really what you want to do. Talk to people who are in that role and see if it's something you would even enjoy before you go about it. And just know that it's a completely different skill set and a completely different set of work that you're going to be doing being an advisor versus being a business owner. And some people make that reluctantly and they don't even realize it's happening. But I think just know yourself first and figure out what you want to do.
All right, awesome. Phil, Blair, Matt, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for listening in. We'll see everyone back here tonight for the party. Thank you.